Most imagine the Holocaust as a single event in which millions of different people, Jewish, homosexuals, Jehovah's Witnesses, and anyone that did not fit or disagreed, were sent to camps where they were tortured and starved to death. We tell ourselves we would never have sat back and watched this happen. But what we do not consider is the process in which a mass amount of people can become accomplices to genocide. It does not start with concentration camps and gas chambers. It begins with a boycott, then slight changes to the laws, neighbors missing, businesses changing ownership, unique forms of identification, propaganda on the evening news. Then new discriminatory laws, neighborhoods emptied, massive movements of people out of the cities. You see, slowly, people are made invisible. Slowly, their humanity disappears. By the time the final solution is executed and chambers lit, your own humanity is far away and you can sleep well at night and go to work in the morning. In Nazi Germany, the final solution was the extermination of millions of people for being different. But it was also a death of humanity worldwide. As a group, we had never imagined such total annihilation. Hello, I'm Caroline. Today we will learn about A. Fascism, a system on the extreme right. We will B. Examine its historical roots, principles and practices, and the role of market forces and citizens. A system that captures the total violence of human imagination. When it rose from the rubble of World War I, people called it the third option. Democracy the world over struggled to find itself after the senseless violence of the Great War. Socialism exploded out of Russia and gained lots of support in the West. People looked to fascism as a counter to socialism. But fascism was centered around the vilification of difference, the hate for those different than us. Fascism emerged in the early 20th century in response to a series of economic and social crises. It posited itself as the third option, the choice of government that lands somewhere between socialism and free market capitalism. It was presented by its fans as the political and economic solution to the kinds of class conflict that emerged typically in capitalist societies. Most capitalist countries at the time of the early 20th century had adopted democracy in order to answer the common problems associated with class division and the inequality of wealth generated by capitalism. But fascism argued that democracy could not effectively resolve these conflicts. Though many people equate fascism's rise in the early 20th century to Adolf Hitler and Nazi Germany, the truth is that the first fascist party was led to power by an Italian politician and journalist named Benito Mussolini. In his National Fascist Party, Mussolini emphasized a one-party system in which opposition parties should be criminalized. This third option argued in favor of class collaboration through corporatism, nationalism, and fascism. Corporatism is an approach to economics in which a society is divided into collectives of individuals with shared economic interests. For example, you might have a corporation which runs agriculture, a corporation which runs education, and so forth. In the system, an individual citizen is seen as subordinate to the citizen aggregate, as symbolized by the nation-state. This means citizens often have restricted civil liberties, and are seen as merely a source of collective power rather than one of individual sovereignty. In corporatism, the use of corporate power and/or the tools of capitalism are reserved for use by the state rather than by individuals. However, the goal is to have an economy managed collectively by employers, labor, and state officials through mechanisms at the national level. Indeed, Mussolini said, fascism should be called corporatism, as it is the merger of corporate and government power. So, fascism is based on the corporate power of private groups understood and organized within their particular industry, directed towards national outcomes. In a fascist or corporatist economy, private property and profit motive do exist and are allowed, though some businesses are controlled and are owned by the state. Finally, in this form of government, all forces of supply and demand are controlled by the state. A reminder, the three production questions that markets ask, what to produce, how to produce, and for whom to produce, are left mostly to the market to answer. However, in a fascist or corporatist state, these questions are directed to national projects that use central planning to direct resources. The effect is central planning that uses capitalism to execute production. In fascism, both the individual and corporate or economic powers are ruled by the fascist state. They exist only insofar as they represent the national prestige and symbology of the state. Italian fascism was represented by a bundle of sticks, which was an ancient Roman symbol meaning strength. The people are only as strong as they support the state. The Nazis used a swastika to represent the mission of the party, which was to conquer the world for the Aryan race. Fascism utilizes a form of hyper-nationalism in order to create the national citizen as a legitimizing force of its political authority. For the Nazi, this was the blue-eyed Aryan man. For the Italians, the Roman. Its right to rule rests on powerful national symbols and the emotions those symbols provoke within its citizens. As mentioned earlier, crises, whether real, imagined, or manufactured, allows the fascist state to center itself as the third option. In both Italy and Germany, memories of World War I and the Great Depression created a perfect environment for fascism. Democracy was struggling to solve the global issues of the late 1920s and 1930s. International communism was gaining headway in political cultures in the West. Many people, especially the economic elites, were worried about their position in society. These groups provided the key alliances fascist groups needed to gain control. But what about the common citizen? Why would they relinquish their civil and political liberties? Safety and security. The fascists presented the other as the source of national threats. Nazi Germany seized on this technique and created a system of effective propaganda that rendered the average citizen culpable and one of the worst examples of genocide in human history. Beyond the vilification of anyone that did not fit into the national citizen, fascism relies on key themes that serve both as concepts of unity and symbols of power. Living space, or the need for more room for the people, is a way to justify conquest and deal with surplus population, the poor, landless, jobless. In Nazi Germany, it was called Lebensraum. In Italy, Spazio Vitale. In America, it was called Manifest Destiny. This is oftentimes coupled with the idea of civilization. The fascist brings civilization to the other, the savage, the barbarian. In Italian fascism, this was heavily laden with Roman images and slogans. And finally, fertility is held as one of the highest forms of female patriotism. Remember, the power of the fascist state is based on the citizens. The more strong men and fertile women produced, the stronger the state. Childless men were seen as weak and unpatriotic. Fascists also used the cult of leader, or personality cult, to control the imaginations of the people in order to link the political power of the individual citizen with the authority of the fascist leader. Although the leader does not hold supreme power in the manner of a king, the leader symbolizes the power of the state. In a traditional monarchy, the king is not a member of a political party, but rather stands outside of an existing party, or no legal political party exists at all. Whereas fascism and other modern authoritarian systems are constructed through a political party that rises to power and bans all oppositional parties. The leader's image is used to create a national image, but the leader is still beholden to the political party itself, which, in reality, holds absolute power. So, what have we learned? Fascism makes both the capitalists and the citizens subservient to the state. It utilizes powerful national symbols, cult of leader, and crises to control the political power of the citizen and legitimize its authority. It positions the other as the enemy and the source of crisis through constant propaganda. Fascism results in massive violence as all groups become either controlled or destroyed, leaving a bleak, sterile society. Mussolini might have helped coin the term fascist, but Hitler gave it a face, with his Nazi party and his horrific extermination camps, including Auschwitz, seen here, and its millions of victims. Total estimates for Holocaust victims are 11 million, 6 million Jewish people and 5 million others. World War II resulted in 75 to 80 million dead worldwide, 3% of the world population in 1940. Recap. Today we learned that fascism rose as the third solution to the crises of the 1920s and 30s. It combined corporate power with that of the state for national goals. It used massive propaganda to employ a form of hyper-nationalism in which an ideal citizen was crafted as a national symbol. It also used propaganda to vilify anyone outside of that model citizen. This vilification led to genocidal policies that an entire nation passively obliged. In this unit, you have learned the relationship between the market, government, the nation-state, and citizens. We have also taken a brief tour through some different political systems. Hopefully, you have learned that the most important aspect of government, markets, and politics is you. An engaged citizen who learns and is kind is the greatest protection against the horrors of authoritarianism. In the next unit, we will look into the roots of American democracy. But that's all for us today. Have a great day, and always remember to vote, debate, and participate.